Hi, everybody. I'm Walter. I'm the Dutch mentor, and welcome back to the Smart Performance Podcast, where S stands for self-care, M for mindful growth, A for adaptive problem solving, R for rhythmic operation, T, of course, for building that very important, thriving community, and P for performance. I have Celeste Warren with me today. We're going to talk about DEI and what that really means and what it doesn't mean, and with all the things that we have seen and heard from people. It kind of gets a little confusing. So today we're going to try to get a new light on that and to see how powerful it can be to have the right people in the right roles sitting around the table in order to be able to help us grow, drive quality and safety, and a whole lot more. So, Celeste, thank you very much for joining me in conversation today, and tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Celeste Warren. I retired last year and started my new chapter in my own business and speaking and authorship. And I was in global corporate companies for almost 4 decades. And the last 10 years in that chapter, I was the Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer at Merck.
Excellent. It sounds like an exciting journey, and congratulations on getting to your next phase. We can never forget that we need to continue to live and to inspire others, of course. So, listen, this is a very broad topic. Obviously, lots of changes have taken place over the last couple of years, what it is and what it isn't. And again, we can have a wide, diverse opinion about that, and that is a good thing, not a bad thing in my eyes. But from your perspective. What do you see today? What is the problem statement, or what is the current environment? And then we could talk a little bit about, for people to understand what it is, what it isn't, but most importantly, what can they do to maximize performance as well as being respectful to people?
I think, part of the problem is there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of myths that are out there around the role that diversity, equity, and inclusion plays in organizations, in institutions, universities, society. And we have to clear up those misconceptions because it causes a fear as well and causes people to react in certain ways when you're fearful of it and you don't fully understand it and you make assumptions about what it is. And we really do need to clear it up because it's really, really important that people understand it.
Okay, so let's dive into it. I am sitting back. I'm not sure what it means anymore, and so educate me.
Yeah, absolutely. So diversity, and I'll use it in the context, diversity is simply differences in people, those you can see and those you can't see. Inclusion is where you want to make sure that all those people with all those different perspectives, skills, capabilities, backgrounds, identities, and life experiences, you're trying to get them to a collective purpose in an organization. It's the mission, vision of an organization, for example. And so you surround them with this culture of inclusion so they have a sense of value and a sense of belonging that they can contribute. Now, where equity comes in to get everyone with all of those differences to that collective purpose, you have to meet them where they are. You have to understand who they are individually and understand, what are some of the obstacles and barriers that are getting in the way of them being able to get to that collective purpose. And when you are doing that, you then not only just understand, but you have to put those acts in place. What do they need to do? You need to blow away these obstacles. You need to enhance their performance or their development through this way. And those are what I call acts of equity because you're meeting people where they are and giving them what they need to succeed or giving them what they need to have access to different opportunities to get them to that collective purpose. So that's basically kind of how I define what it is in a very pragmatic sense.
Okay, sounds really good. I actually, interesting enough, when I worked at New York City Health and Hospital, we in Jacoby, we had 150 different languages spoken on any given day. People would come off the airplane, not so much the boat anymore, from JFK straight to the hospital. And you never knew. And we always believed that our team was stronger because of our cultural differences. And sometimes it's kind of forgotten that it's not only what it is that you said it is, but also the cultural aspects of people is a very, very important piece to make sure that we have, a really good, strong team that looks at it from different perspectives. So now that we know what it is, real quick, because I don't want to spend too much time and confuse people, what is it not?
I'll just say one of the myths that exist around equity is that we're giving preferential treatment to one group over another. And we're not doing that. We're basically saying, okay, what is it that you need to have the same access that other people have to those opportunities. And so we're not taking things away from people who already have that access to those opportunities. We're giving people what they need so they can also have access to those opportunities.
Yeah. So thank you for explaining that, because I think that is often the one that sticks with people, that it is a preferential treatment. Listen, in my operational rhythm model, the first point is having the right people in the right roles with the right skills, knowledge, abilities, and time that can be unified in their actions in an environment where we measure things and be accountable to self and to the team, where we take meaningful action in order to get the outcomes that we desire: safety, quality, growth, cost, et cetera, et cetera. It is critically important to have diverse opinion around the table. And I always go back as an aviator, as a pilot, helicopter and airplane pilot myself, and really having a deep interest in space. I go back to the incident that happened with the space shuttle. It is, we had people sitting around the table that did not create a culture of inclusion, a culture that was safe, where people did not feel comfortable to speak up. And because of that, essentially speaking, 7 people lost their lives, and millions or billions of dollars were lost in that particular program, of course. With that said, tell me, what is it that a leader should know and do with this information to make sure that they get the right people around the table that can be unified in order to get to drive the best outcome? So make it actionable for me.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things leaders can do is they can make sure that they are bringing people with different perspectives, different backgrounds, different life experiences to the table. And a lot of people say that, well, it's kind of hard to find quality talent. That's another myth, in certain areas. And basically, those different skills and capabilities that are required for different roles can be embodied in different identities. So make sure that your managers and your hiring managers, those that have openings, that they are widening the screen and going out and making sure that they're sourcing from a lot of different places to get those qualified candidates. That's one. Second thing is, make sure that you're meeting individually, one-on-one, with your team members, finding out about them, finding out their strengths, their areas for development, their skills, their capabilities, and those things that you need to do to continue to develop them from a developmental career aspiration standpoint, and also from a performance standpoint as well. While you are doing that, you are not only, doing the things that you need to do, that's management and leadership 101, you're also instilling trust in that individual, because they now feel like you are hearing them, you are listening to them, you understand them, and they're going to not just trust you, they're going to take that hill for you. They're going to give you that discretionary effort, which is what we all thrive for as leaders with our team members, because that helps us to be an even more successful team and organization.
Excellent. And I think I would add to that is that we need to not look within our biases, or even for that matter, we are aware of our subconscious biases to a certain group. This is not about Black, white, Asian, Latino, non-white, Caucasian. This is also about people who have neurodiversity and people who have autism and people who have handicaps and disabilities. This is not about, one group versus another group. It's really getting the right people who can bring something to the table that can have a meaningful impact, straight to what the mission, vision, value of any organization mandates. And I think that is a very important piece of the puzzle. So, since most of the DEI officer titles have been changed and moved around, what is an individual leader that is working in healthcare or Merck or anywhere else today? What is it that they should do to have a little quick self check-in to make sure that their team has the right people on the right role to sit around the table to solve their problems?
Well, I think they would approach it in the same way that they would, from a talent management and strategic standpoint. You want to make sure that you understand, first of all, the types of skills, capabilities, experiences that are needed for each of your roles. You need to make sure that you are partnering with your talent acquisition leader, your recruiter and staffer, that they understand what's required, and they're going out and, as I said, widening the screen, going out and sourcing across a variety of different places to bring in talent that are not just meeting the needs of the skills, the functional skills and capabilities, but also have a cultural awareness that might enhance what they bring to the table as well. Because a lot of times we understand things from a, let's take the marketing standpoint. We understand, of our functional marketing expertise, but sometimes we need to understand a little bit better between our marketing strategies in the organization, not reaching certain segmentations of our customer base. And so being able to bring my cultural experience and awareness in, as well as my functional skills, is really, really important because it helps to bridge the gap between our marketing and our business strategies and those customers that we may not be reaching. And we're leaving valuable dollars in revenue on the table as well.
Yeah, so thank you for explaining it. I think it is, again, we should talk about this. We should have dialogue. We should not hide behind things. So I would be amiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the subconscious biases that exist. So tell me what can a leader do for him or herself or for the team to talk a little bit about these subconscious biases so we don't fall into a trap and to remain open-minded and open.
Yeah, a lot of people years ago, 10, 15 years ago, they talked about, we'll take the unconscious bias training. I still subscribe to it. I think it's really important and that we understand our biases because we all have them. And so what becomes problematic is when those biases enter into decisions that we're making about people and then causes unfair treatment to individuals and inequitable treatment. So we need to be aware of and understand our biases. We need to make sure that we are talking about them and then not letting them seep into how we make decisions, who we hire, who we promote, why we hire, why we promote certain people over others, and make sure that it's driven by performance based and as very importantly. And then also too, as a leader, you need to make sure that your team members, if you're managing other managers, that their biases aren't entering into decisions that they're making around their people as well. And do that through the coaching and counseling that you provide as their leader during your one-on-one discussions with them as a manager.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. I would encourage people to have dialogue.
Yes.
We are so afraid to say what we think because we might hurt somebody's feeling. But how am I going to learn if
Mhm.
if I'm not willing to speak my mind and then be open-minded to other opinions, right? It is that's really with the strength of communication, and that's how we can become a culture of strength. And especially in today's environment, is we have lost the art of dialogue. And people, I don't go into politics on this show for a good reason, because that's really not the intent of the show. But in this conversation, I think it's relevant. It is okay to not agree,
Yes.
and it's okay to have dialogue around that. But we should not be pointing fingers at people and throwing words around that are demeaning. And I think
Hmm.
to have these conversations is important because of it, we will become stronger
Yeah,
and
we'll never
more
get to that
understanding.
culture of inclusion if we don't have discussion.
W-
And as long as
w-
you're
This,
treating people with dignity and respect, you can agree to disagree and walk away.
yeah.
That's what's important.
Yeah, if people worry about losing the democracy or the way of the republic, so to speak, as we talk about, there's no quicker way of losing that if we lose our culture. So, Celeste, thank you very much for joining me today in the conversation. Where can we find you?
You can find me on my website. It's www.crwdiversity.com. I'm also on Instagram, CRW Diversity, and LinkedIn. So please reach out. I'd love to have the conversation and continue the dialogue.
Yeah, I think it's critically important. So, for a closing thought, something that you would, a little nugget of wisdom that you would like to leave behind that people could take action on, or just ponder on.
Well, I think three things: stay relevant with what's happening, not just in your functional discipline, but what's happening externally in the world. Stay supportive of each other. Again, like what we were talking about, having those inclusive dialogues and those conversations. And three, stay in the fight. We need everybody to be grabbing an oar, getting in the boat and rowing the boat and up the river so we can all the ships in the fleet can be going in the same direction. That's how we're going to get to the environment that we want to see.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you for joining me in conversation. I think that you laid it out well. You should give everybody a little bit of time to think about it, but more importantly, to the audience, If you don't take action, you'll have forgotten about this conversation by Monday morning of next week or even by tomorrow morning. It doesn't have to be even be 4 days. So go to my website, thedutchmentor.com. There is 4 or 5 free quizzes you can take, from personality to finance to FATSI prep, to how you are, in relationship to habit building. Start there and really see what it is that you need to do for yourself in order to be able to not be stagnant, right? Have that growth mindset and become the best version of yourself. Dream big and act small. Thank you for joining me today, Celeste. Have a wonderful day in Philadelphia, and we'll talk soon again. Take care, everybody.